Hi guys, thank you for stopping by my channel again. I made a video the other day where I unboxed a bunch of sale items from Pacifica, and in that video I mentioned how it had just been a crazy day. Now that video, I had actually filmed it about a week or like a week and a half ago and just got to uploading it the other day. I'm really sorry, y'all, but Arlie is inside playing and she is going through excuse me, that toddler stage where she has no volume control. Okay, y'all, she is just loud no matter what. So my older two kids, like, there's such a big age gap between them, they just want to be like, and I'm like, no, you can't talk to her that way. We're gonna try telling her like quiet voices, like let's use a quiet voice, even though her screech and her shrill, I understand, goes through like every bone in your body. And she's talking more now too, and so she's just like super expressive. Anyway, she's fine. She's in there playing with the older two, just being loud. Anyway, so I told you that the day that I had actually filmed that video was absolutely crazy insane. There were a few things that happened. I already mentioned in last week's video about my like weight loss journey that I had sprained my ankle. So my ankle was already sprained and hurting at the time that two other things went down. So I had taken Dragon to the vet for his like annual checkup, like his shots, whatever. And the vet office that we go to, while I really like the vet office, and again, we're military, so I didn't really know what was in the area. The reason I had chose that vet office is because it was the closest one around. At the time we moved here, we had a Great Dane, and she did not travel well in the car, and she would get very upset and kind of bark and charge at the windows if she saw people walking by the car. She was a sweet dog, but it stressed me out. So I just chose the closest vet so that I didn't have to travel like a big distance. Need a sip of coffee. Anyway, long story short, she passed away and we got Dragon. Anyway, so I take Dragon to the vet to have his appointment, and this particular vet office, again, I like it, but not long before we had moved here, apparently, they had transferred their business from another smaller vet office. So when they moved to this newer office, this new office is like, I don't know, supposedly like top of the line. It's very, apparently like swanky. I can only imagine how much money they must have put into the building. So I have always kind of had a sense that they may charge, I'm sure, more than what other vets in the area charge, and perhaps are more inclined to suggest procedures that may not be quite necessary. So anyway, I take Dragon to the vet. He is, let's see, he's over a year old now, and He's about 1.5 years old. And he goes and he sees a different doctor than he's normally seen in the past. And because of the COVID thing, I can't go in with him. They come to the car, they take him, he goes in. And the doctor called me from inside the vet office and tells me that he hears a heart murmur in Dragon. So I'm like, well, that's odd because no one else has ever heard a heart murmur in Dragon before. And you know, he's been there for boarding and they always do a checkup on them when they board. And he's been there, you know, we're up to date on all of his vaccines. Like he goes in routinely. No one's heard this before. So I was curious what the procedure was. And he said, so right away he recommends, first he said an x-ray. Then he's like, no, not an x-ray, an ultrasound. An ultrasound. Okay. For a heart murmur that no one has heard before. Like, I love my pets, but it's just odd to me that this happened. So he tells me that the ultrasound is going to cost about $500. And they may find nothing on the ultrasound. He may be perfectly fine. But he suggests that the next time he comes in for a visit that we do this ultrasound. And so then I'm like, well, what would be the like minimum amount, not that you would have to do, but what if you find nothing? And he's like, well, then we would just do nothing. Okay. So then I ask, what would be the worst case scenario? And he tells me that they would refer me to a doggy cardiologist. A doggy cardiologist. So that's kind of where I was with that situation. Like, he does not show any signs of distress. He doesn't pant like crazy. He does not show any difficulty breathing. So I think the next time we go to the vet, I mean, they're going to ask for a different veterinarian, or maybe we will just switch vets and get a second opinion on the situation, because I made sure that this wasn't something, obviously, that wasn't like, you know, super important and life-threatening. And he was like, oh no, you're totally fine to like wait till your next appointment, which is making me think that, I don't know, maybe a second opinion is due here. So anyway, that was the first thing. I was a little upset because I don't know if there's something wrong with him. I don't know. I'm hoping that there's not, but I'm not a doctor, I'm not a vet, so I don't really know. Okay. So then that night, I'm not going to say which one of my kids this happened to, but one of my kids has lice. Now, if you've ever experienced lice, we have not ever experienced lice, okay? However, working in the school system, working in daycare centers and preschools, I have come across my share of lice in kids. And I have always said, you know, please do not let this happen to me, because I know what those parents have to go through to get rid of the lice. Again, I'm not going to say which one of my kids it is, because I feel like no matter which one of my children it is, it doesn't matter. Just one of them had it. My head was spinning. I can't tell you what time I was up till that night, vacuuming, sealing things in airtight bags, okay? If you know anything about the whole like lice situation and lice treatment, they don't like high temperatures and they don't like cold temperatures. So they can be killed by putting things into a washing machine and washing stuff on a hot water cycle. They can also be killed if you put like bedding or pillows or whatever into the dryer for a certain amount of time, okay? But you have to keep up with it, because as soon as those little monsters lay eggs, and if those eggs hatch, the cycle can start all over again. I cannot tell you how many parents we have explained this to, and they just don't do the proper work and don't put the effort in. I have spent every day doing loads and loads of laundry because said child's bedding has to be washed every single day. So every single day, that child's bedding has to be stripped, including pillowcases, blankets, all of it. I put it into the washing machine on a hot water cycle, and then it is dried. I have a spare set that will go on the bed in the meantime, and it's just like, you've got to be kidding me. The last thing I thought would happen to me in quarantine is that one of my children would get lice. We have been quarantined. We've been quarantined, people, okay? We are not out rubbing our bodies and heads on people in the stores. I don't even take my kids to the stores. Now, anyway, I think I know where it came from. I'm certain that I know where it came from. Anyway, that doesn't matter either. We are treating it and taking care of the situation. But in the meantime, like, I've had my husband check me 100 times, but I mean, I'm sure, like in the video, I'm just like, ah, like just talking about it makes my skin crawl and makes my head itch. I don't have it. My husband doesn't have it, but I can't even explain to you. This has been my life over the last week and a half, almost 2 weeks. Is just nonstop vacuuming, because you have to be so on top of vacuuming. Thank goodness we are not in the car a lot right now, because the car had to be like vacuumed out and treated, and I don't want to use any kind of, you know, like sprays or anything that you shouldn't use around like kids or pets. So it's just constantly keeping up. But like, no one else has gotten it. It's just, thank goodness it has remained that just the one child had it. There have been no more live. No, it's really gross. I know. Believe me, I know. There's been nothing else live. It's just been a matter of making sure that the nits are gone, and I mean, everything has been fine, but it's just a matter of making sure that it doesn't become like a disgusting like infestation. I can't even imagine. I really can't. I can't, because like I said, I have worked with parents who, you know, have had more than one kid, and they all get it, and I can't imagine having more than one child have it at one time and keeping up with that disaster. I feel terrible for anybody who's ever had to go through it. I always have, but no good, no bueno. So anyway, that is what I was like stressing out about the other day. The ankle's feeling better. Dragon's great. He's outside playing right now. And fingers crossed there's no more lice in our house and in our life, because no one needs that right now. No one needs that with everything else going on. But I mean, you know, 2020 has been a crazy year so far. It's been interesting, to to say the least. So anyway, I hope that none of you are going through crazy times right now. If you are, you know, my thoughts are definitely with you. And I'm gonna end the video here on all of those crazy notes, and Arlie is still at it inside, just being loud as can be. So I think we're gonna go do some painting or something. But anyway, stay safe, be kind, and I'll see you next time. Bye.